Hey there, and welcome to Open Class number 23. I'm very, very excited about this class. I think it will bring a lot of value to everyone that tunes in. Thanks to the great questions. I can't say this enough, but this channel would not exist if it wasn't for all the comments, everybody willing to share, everybody asking questions. It is really such a pleasure, having that support, the community here. So I'm really grateful for that. Now, I have one little insight I want to share before we go to like the Q&A portion. I really want to start these open classes with kind of like one nugget so that everyone, if you don't have time maybe to listen to all the Q&A, you get at least like one nugget in the beginning. But before we go there, actually, I was just reminded of two things. One, I just want to share that Podbean, the platform that hosts our podcast, which is the same, it's the audio from the video that is, becomes the podcast. But they asked me to join a wellness week in December, and they actually asked me to moderate the sleep part of that. So that was really, really cool. I'm still debating whether I'm going to accept that or not, because I think a lot the other, panelists will be kind of like ASMR, like meditation, and as you know, I don't think when that is done for the purpose of sleeping, that is helpful. So if I'm the moderator, it could easily become kind of like a little weird. So we'll see about that. But anyway, I just want to share that one. That was fun. And that now led me to remember something else I've wanted to ask for a long, long time. And it's the following. If you have a favorite like wellness podcast, or you follow somebody in that space, or it's a YouTube channel or whatever it is, if you can think of any podcasts or such, enterprise that you think would benefit from having me on as a guest, please let them know. If you as a listener says, oh, I think this would be a great guest for you on this podcast, I think they will really listen to that. For me, when somebody says, I think you should check this out, I'm all ears. So that would be super, super appreciated. And so with that said, let us jump in. And our first question is actually, this is in from a comment earlier today, and this is a question from, it is actually a comment on the video I uploaded today about like medications. Let's take a look together. It's from Cindy, and she said, I wanted to know, there was something before this, of course, about like, she said the episode was helpful, but then she said, I wanted to know what's the difference between using the BedTyme app versus the self-coaching master program on the website. Which one provides more assistant guidance working directly with you, Coach Daniel? Cindy, I want to say thank you so much for this inquiry. And I want to say this, that it is the same philosophy in both. It is, if you like what we're talking about here, the NATO, non-attachment to the outcome, combination of CBT, ACT, acceptance, all the stuff here, that is the heart of both, of course. It is the same teaching, just packaged differently. With the self-coaching master program, it's like, it's a video-based curriculum. And I do a drop-in class every other week, and Coach Michael does it every other week. And then we have a Slack forum where you can post a question anytime, and me or Coach Michael, we answer all the time. So you have a lot of access to me and Coach Michael there. In BedTyme, which is an app, it is one-on-one. It is only me. I'm the only coach, and I work, one-on-one with each client, and there's no interaction with anybody else. So that's, so again, with BedTyme, you have one-on-one with me. And so if that's what you prefer, perfect. But if you like more of the community, etc., the self-coaching master program is great for you. So thank you so much for that, Cindy. And anyone out there who feels that you need a little bit more like hand-holding support, if you want help going from kind of feeling hopeless, lost, etc., to like immunity insomnia where you sleep well forever, I would love to work with you. All right. So that said, let us jump in here. Actually, there's a comment here from Rock Solid People. My friend, I find it very hard to sleep after taking ciprofloxacin. There's muscle twitching and nerve pain on his hand and feet, like pins and needles, and burning pain on his forearms and legs. Got it. There's been a lot of concern about ciprofloxacin. I think there's somebody who had like a reaction to it and something happened. I don't know. But I want to say this: whenever you're concerned about your health, when your friend is, they should talk to their doctor, of course. That said, when I hear muscle twitching, nerve pain, pins and needles, burning forms in the legs, my immediate reaction is hyperarousal. My mind always goes there. If it is, if somebody has a side effect to medication, I think of it as like, okay, it's pretty clear. Like, when you take this, you have this. You don't take it, you don't have that, right? Nothing strange. And oftentimes, and there's no emotional reaction. Somebody's like, I had this side effect, I stopped taking it, now I don't have it anymore. But when somebody is like kind of questioning it, I think it's this, but I'm not sure, and I'm really anxious about it. What if it's this? What if it's that? Then my mind goes, that's probably not the thing. It's how you're thinking about the thing. It's probably not the drug. It's how you're thinking about it, reacting it. It's your hyperarousal, your nervousness, your hyperattention that is producing these kind of classic hyperarousal things. So that's just me sharing some general thoughts there. And as always, nothing here is a medical advice. Just sharing some general thoughts. They're rock solid people, and I recognize you. I think you're Klaus, right? Nice beard, by the way. Okay, cool. Let us jump into question number 2, which is from my namesake, Daniel. Daniel's one of these, one of the really solid supporters. I always love to hear from Daniel. And here's a great question from Daniel. Let's read together. Hey, Daniel, it's Daniel. Again, I haven't spoken in a while. I was doing very good for months and thought I had this beat, but it came back after a couple nights of drinking alcohol. The jerks are horrible and preventing me from sleeping at all. Anxiety's through the roof. Do you think this will pass again? Going to order the book. I'm guessing you mean Set It and Forget It and give it a read. I think it's a good one. I think you'll learn a lot from it. Always good to talk to you, Daniel. You helped me so much in the past. Okay. So Daniel, as I said, actually, in my reply to Daniel, this question has become actually one of my favorite questions because I know like exactly what to answer. So here's the thing. You, Daniel, you did well for, I think it was many weeks, okay? And that is hyper important. It's hyper important to understand why you did so well. The confusion is often that somebody tunes into this channel or does like a CBT course or, does this and that and starts sleeping better. And they're like, okay, I did it. I got it. I did the thing and now I'm sleeping better. And then you have trouble sleeping again. And it's like, oh my gosh, what's happening? Why isn't it working? But here's the thing. Good sleep only comes from one single place. It comes from a place of being willing to be awake at night, not trying to sleep, being okay with wakefulness, being okay with insomnia. And here's my little explanation of that is like, if you imagine a fictionary person that is like, they are not okay with losing 1 minute of sleep. It's unacceptable to them. They do everything they can to maintain every single minute, second, hour of sleep. That person is not going to sleep well. Imagine this other person who is fine with not sleeping that much. There's no pressure. They will sleep well. When you slept well and you didn't have any jerks or anything else going on, Daniel, it was because you were not trying. You were okay with being awake at night. You were okay with having jerks. Otherwise, you would have had trouble sleeping. And so why I'm so kind of passionate about this to see like you've already done it and you will do it again, 100%. You will go back to a place where you're like, okay, I had these jerks for a while. It's triggered by I drank alcohol. Things get kind of out of whack. Nothing strange. Now I'm a little bit, worried again. But I can again go to a place where I'm like, it's okay if I'm awake at night. It's okay if I have hypnic jerks. And of course, yes, you will start sleeping really well again. And by the way, there are these waves. You had trouble sleeping, you get better. Okay. Then there's another wave of trouble sleeping, then it goes away. And these waves, I've seen so many times, they get weaker and fewer and far in between. Now it was like several weeks. Next time I hear from you, Daniel, it'll probably be like, 2 months and then like 6 months. And then you'll just chat with me here and there because it's fun, 100%. Daniel, I hope that made total sense. Thanks for the support and stay in touch and let me know if there's any fault, okay? Here's Alina says, Daniel had success regress, right? I want to say maybe. I don't think so, to be honest with you, Alina. But I think it's so cool that you know the terminology and everything. I think when somebody success regress to me is like, it is the regress, the trouble sleeping comes purely from doing better, and it's typically shorter span. It's like I've slept better for 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. How long is this going to last? No, it didn't last. You know, when you've had slept good for like a month or 2 months, it is not only the fact that you're sleeping well that is the reason you don't sleep. Success regress to me is like when it's only the fact that you're sleeping better that is the reason you're not sleeping better. That is success regress. We have a couple of live questions here. Let's go over this. Super cool. Thank you, Milena, by the way. Swarp says, I was recuperating finally yesterday, was getting quite okay sleep until I heard the news of a friend who underwent dementia and unconsciousness and had rapid mental degeneration. This triggered anxiety attack for me. And his anxiety caused me to panic about sleep. So I took lorazepam again for anxiety and sleep. I'm going back to my home country and family tomorrow to find better help there with support. Swarp, I'm sorry to hear this happen to your friend. And, you know, I want to say, you know, my first instinct or reaction when I hear this is like, if your friend, something, you know, very, very devastating happens to your friend, and, you know, it's natural that you're upset, that you're frightened, that you're anxious, that you don't sleep so well, right? And you took some lorazepam. That was just because you wanted to feel better, right? Don't go into, you know, don't judge yourself. Be kind to yourself. Think of this as completely expected. And then things will go back to normal again. You'll do really, really well, Swarp. And, you know, I'm sure with the travel and everything, things will be a little chaotic, but things will settle back and you'll do really well, I'm sure. I'm sure. Okay. And I think we had Riley here too. Oh, Charles. Okay. Let's see here. Charles is live and says, hi, Daniel. I was wondering what your thoughts are on when I'm about to fall asleep and I kind of wake myself up to snore and have to start the falling asleep process over again. I was laughing a little bit there because I thought we were going to have a hypnic awareness, but it wasn't that. Okay, let's go. I heard it might be sleep apnea, but I don't have any other sleep apnea symptoms, and it doesn't occur when I'm asleep, only when I'm about to fall asleep. Is this some kind of hypnic jerk awareness? Okay, good. Good. You know, I can see Charles has a lot of insight. I do get hypnic jerks, but they seem to be getting better. Oh, check this out. Riley said, Charles, talk to your doctor, but I've had the same thing. I don't have sleep apnea. Sometimes it can be your sleep position. Either way, the anxiety is the thing that's propagating it. Riley, I think this is very insightful. I want to say this. I think a lot of people, including myself, not rarely, not infrequently, have that thing. We're about to fall asleep and we were woken by a jerk. That doesn't mean necessarily that you have sleep apnea. And again, nothing here is a medical device, but general big picture thing here. If somebody's not really snoring that much, they feel pretty rested, they otherwise sleep pretty good, it's, you know, that's, I would think it's unlikely that that person has sleep apnea. I would say this: when it comes to so many things sleep related, your emotional reaction, how you think about, how you feel about it, is such a huge clue, right? If somebody falls asleep and then have a snort and then they really don't think about it and then they fall back asleep again, they don't even know they have it, then it doesn't really become a problem unless they have sleep apnea, let's say, and just they keep having terrible sleep the rest of the night. But if somebody's about to fall asleep and have a snort and like, why am I having that? Is this this? Is it that? Then you're onto something. And what you're onto is that you're emotionally reacting to it, you're thinking about it, you're wondering, and that can cause a lot of trouble. So I guess in conclusion, Charles, I want to say, whenever anybody's concerned about health, yeah, check with your doctor. But these type of things are not unusual, and it is very possible when somebody has this kind of, it's very possible that it is kind of like a hypnic awareness and hypnic jerk, whereby if you kind of pay less attention to it, it doesn't bother you and it becomes a non-issue. Thanks so much, Riley, for sharing that. And so says Charles here, thanks for the insight. I thank you too, Riley. Awesome. All right. Let us go back to our pre-recorded questions here. This is for Anonymous. Okay. Hello, Daniel. I trust this message finds you well. It is. Thank you. I recently found your channel, and I'm hoping this will turn the chapter of insomnia and anxiety in my life. Anonymous, I'm always so happy when somebody says, I just stumbled across your channel. That always gives me like, okay, I hope this person like found the answer. It makes me happy when I read that. All right, backstory. In 2018, I was promoted to a senior position with a premier medical school. I got sucked into marketing, public affairs, machinery, and I found myself constantly questioning my abilities and intelligence. The only thing that gave me joy was working on health education programs with community members. However, I was often burdened with the workload and had limited office support. On November 17, 2019, the next day after I finished a 5-week health program, I experienced my first panic attack. At the time, I thought I was having a heart attack and nearly passed out in the office. After a follow-up visit with my PCP, they said my blood sugar was a little low and asked to run some tests. The results came back fine, and they suggested I get rest, and my symptoms were due to stress. I was alarmed because I have a history of pituitary adenoma, and I thought I had some kind of bleeding in the brain. MRIs, CAT scan were done, normal, positive, with a stable adenoma. These attacks were the first of 3 major ones, including one in my sleep. If you're here, Riley, I thought about you when I read this. One in my sleep, which caused me to wake up in panic with racing, crazy thoughts. I never had a problem with sleep until after that. From December to May 2020, I suffered greatly with insomnia, multiple ER visits, begging for sleep, multiple prescriptions, and multiple bad reactions to them. Interestingly, once the pandemic was declared, all work became remote. I finally was able to sleep, ! My racing thoughts, fears, and extreme anxiety all eventually reduced and faded away. I thought this problem was finally over. Unfortunately, it came back in August after completing another stressful health education program while trying to make a decision on doctoral programs, potentially moves, finance, relationships. I find myself ruminating and overly stressed, and boom, the insomnia came back, and I have been suffering for over a month. I'm constantly worried. I have a severe mental illness. Will I go crazy? While the psychiatrist has ruled out other mental illnesses and suggests that I have extreme anxiety, panic disorder, I'm still scared out of my mind that sleep deprivation will drive me crazy and in straitjacket. I'm having more panic attacks in my sleep, more irritable, I have intrusive, crazy paranoid thoughts, terrible migraines, ringing ears. I'm starting to feel hopeless and desperate. I've called the helpline twice in the last 2 months just because I'm feeling so helpless. Please help. Forgot to mention, I was also diagnosed last week with moderate obstructive sleep apnea. Anonymous. This is one of those emails where you're like, you feel how painful this is, how much of an impact all of it, the panic attacks, the anxiety, but also the insomnia has had. So we all hear that. We all recognize this, of course. Now, I want to start off with some things that I think are very encouraging. You might think I'm crazy when I say that, but there are some things that are very, very encouraging, actually. Number one, you start this email by talking about some stress from 2018, which already tells me that, okay, there's insight here. Anonymous knows that stress is part of why this is happening. And although it is not, sometimes you get an email from somebody who you hear is like, this person is completely in the land of Oz. They have no clue what's going on. And I don't mean that in some kind of judgmental way. It's just like they're completely bewildered and they don't even think stress has anything to do with it. It's like, I completely don't understand what's going on. They are in they are in the most difficult spot, because they have to get to a place where they see my insomnia is driven by fear. And I can sense, Anonymous, that you have already gotten to a point where you see that fear, anxiety, panic attacks are what is if not the only thing that is, you can already see that is a big reason why you have trouble sleeping. And that may not seem like, whoa, that's great, but it puts you in a place where you can really start working on this because you know why you have trouble sleeping, okay? And now, if you haven't tuned into this, I want to say definitely check out Talking Insomnia number 33 with Riley, because this reminds me so much of Riley. Same thing. He had a lot of stress, but no trouble sleeping until he had a panic attack in his sleep. And after that, that's where it became a problem. And of course, that is because now a whole other world opens up, in a world where you can't sleep, where this becomes another problem, right? So now you have this real fear of the night, real fear of being awake at night, real fear of, everything that will come from it. And your thoughts here, will I become crazy? Will I have a mental illness? What's sleep deprivation going to do to me, etc.? Super, super common. They are some of the most common, catastrophizing thoughts, And you know what? You cannot go crazy. It feels like that, but you cannot go crazy. You cannot lose your mind. You can't hurt your brain. The worst thing that happens is that you become like really, really fatigued, mentally fogged. You feel sad, frustrated, but you can't go crazy or anything like that. So for you, Anonymous, like what is like, where should you go from now? Where's the next place you should go? I think there's zero question about that. You have to learn. You have to learn a lot. You have to learn that you have to learn about like how the mind works, and that your brain is trying to fight off this perceived threat that is treating like a grizzly bear. You have to learn that it is your desire for sleep, your want to sleep, that is causing you not to sleep, and all this like basic sleep physiology that we talk about. And I think you can start here. You can start on the channel. You can check out This Is Natto, that playlist that's in the description. That's a great place to start. And I think that's really the next step. And the sleep apnea. I want to say again, like talk to your doctor when you worry about your health, but it's not that difficult, I think, to tell when somebody struggles with sleep apnea and struggles with insomnia, because when it's only sleep apnea, there's no emotional component to it. It's like I wake up 52 times. No, I just came up with a crazy number. I wake up like 11 times per night and I feel really tired. But when I wake up, I fall back right away. Like that's classic sleep apnea. When there's emotional component, it's really insomnia, right? Riley said here, wow, Anonymous, my story is so similar to yours. Our brains will take our anxieties, if not dealt with and surrendered, and express them in our sleep. And so, totally. Learn, Anonymous here, learn, and you'll get to a place where you're doing better. Any follow-up questions, please let me know, of course. Let's see. We have some live comments here from Mihao. Mihao, I think new to the channel, as first I remember. Welcome, Mihao. I have such terrible sleep due to sleep apnea and my endocrine conditions that I think it will actually kill me. I skip entire nights of sleep. Not being able to sleep turns you into a zombie. You become a zombie, and your life dissolves away. Mihao says, fear of not sleeping a whole night is one of the worst things ever. Mihao, this makes me think of something that I thought about a lot, but I don't think I've ever talked about, which is, on one hand, you would think that if somebody consistently sleeps very little, they would almost get like used to it, right? Oh yeah, I've slept very little for like, a year and a half. I get hardly any sleep. So then you would think if you've gone through this so many times, you would almost get used to it. But it is the opposite, right? You get more sensitized. If you ask somebody that doesn't have any problem sleeping, like, how do you say, what would you think of going a whole night without sleep? That person would probably go like, oh, I don't know, that wouldn't be nice, but they wouldn't really react to it strongly, right? But if you tell somebody that has trouble sleeping, like, how would you feel if you went an entire night without sleep? That is triggering. That is super triggering, because the control thing. If somebody who doesn't have any trouble sleeping is up the whole night, it's probably because they wanted to. They were up the whole night because of this and that. But when you're up the whole night because you feel you lost control, it's a completely different thing. But my point here is, hard as it is, you have to work your way towards desensitization. You have to work your way towards a place where the thought of being up an entire night isn't that triggering. So when it is, that pressure to sleep that comes from the fear is going to keep you not sleeping. So how can you go from a place where each sleepless night triggers you more and it makes you more sensitized to a place where sleeping little makes you desensitized? How can you go in that direction? Well, my thinking is this, that the day is the opportunity, okay? Because we can't affect, we have no direct control over our night, but we have more control over our day. So if you can, every time you have a sleepless night, like a night with very little sleep, you have this planned reward. You have the thing that you spoil yourself. You do something for yourself that's super nice, that you don't allow yourself other times. Then you turn things on its head. Then the brain sees, whoa, something nice can happen a day when I didn't sleep at all. Oh, okay, there's less I have to be afraid of. If you can turn your days to good ones, even when you sleep a little, or particularly when you sleep a little, that can be a great way of like doing that. You turn it on its head. You know, each sleepless night becomes an opportunity for desensitization. I think that can be really helpful. Alina says, have you ever pulled an all-nighter on purpose, but didn't have a negative emotion that came with it? That's a good one. You know, there's nothing, in principle, there's nothing different between being up all night because you had to study and being up all night because, you know, you were so anxious. You know, it's the same thing. You're up all night. It's the reaction to it that is kind of like the quote unquote problem, right? A good point from Alina. Mia says it's a Pavlovian way. You fear it like Pavlov's dogs expect the bell to ring. That's true. That is very true. Very well. Thanks so much for the input, everyone. And yeah, with that said, let us move along here then to our next question that comes in via an email. This is from Ravi. Hi, I hope this email finds you well. It does. Thank you very much. My name is Ravi. I'm 24 years old. I wanted to email you about the trouble sleeping I've had for approximately the past 4 years. In college, I never had a proper sleep schedule, which did not help me once I graduated at 22. Specifically, in the past 2 years, I can count on my hands how many nights of good sleep I've gotten. For some reason, I can't transition to sleep. I end up tossing and turning until it's almost time to get up for work. I feel like I've tried everything. I tried to set my schedule to be from 10 p.m. to 6, but it never worked. I tried taking breaks in the middle of the tossing and turning to read a book, but still nothing. As soon as I feel like I'm about to sleep, I feel like I need to pee, even though I know I haven't drank water for 2 hours and I wake up. If that does not happen, as soon as I feel like I'm about to transition to sleep, I suddenly realize that my mind wakes up. I also want to add that I'm not extremely stressed in any way. I used to take melatonin to sleep, but that has stopped working effectively. And I really do not want to rely on any medication again. I went to doctor last year and they prescribed trazodone, but honestly, trazodone rarely helps. I either still cannot sleep when taking it or wake up feeling extremely groggy. I feel defeated as I think I've tried all my options. Thank you for taking the time to read it. I wanted to email you my problems to see if there's any suggestion you may have. Take care and be safe. Best regards, Ravi. Ravi, I want to thank you for this this email. And it's one of those emails like I could literally spend an hour, you know, unpacking all the little details and like, you know, and there's so much to talk about here. But you know, the thing that came to mind here is something I think I tweeted about one time, and it's this one. Okay, you very often hear somebody say, "I've tried everything," but there's probably something you haven't tried, and that is trying not to try. Okay, you know, have you tried not trying? You know, it sounds like, what are you talking about? But that is probably the one thing you haven't tried. Okay, and why do I say that? You know, what do I mean with that? How is that helpful? Well, here's the thing: sleep is a passive process. It is a passive process. Good sleep only happens when we are not thinking about sleep, not trying to sleep, not wanting to sleep, not begging for sleep, not hoping for sleep, not urging for sleep, not negotiating for sleep, etc. Okay? When in fact, when you are sleepy and you're not scared in any way, sleep is inevitable. It will happen, guaranteed. Okay? Now, what happens when you start having trouble sleeping, which sounds like that happened in college, right? There was some stress and you slept little, then it feels like something is different. You know, I've started to lose control over something I had control of in the past, and I got to try things. And that's where the spiral starts. You know, you try the melatonin, the blackout curtains, the meditation, you know, all that stuff. Every trial is an act of trying to control something you cannot control, which makes you have more trouble sleeping, which makes you control even more, which makes you more trouble sleeping, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then you're in this loop, right? That's where insomnia comes from. So, Ravi, I want to say nothing that you've written here is remotely strange or unusual. It is very, 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 very classic insomnia. You know, there's nothing strange at all. And the fact that you're not taking the medications, that works in your favor. There's less of, you know, confounders there. The fact that it didn't help you doesn't mean anything. If somebody's skeptical and don't believe in the medication, it will not help. So I think, let me just take a quick look here. I feel there was maybe one more specific thing I want to talk about. Talk about trazodone. Oh, yeah, this one. This is a very important one. I also want to add that I'm not extremely stressed in any way. And, that if you check out, I made an episode called The Type 2 Concern, where I talk about this. So often the brain tries to always keep you safe. And sometimes it does not. It does not want to acknowledge that insomnia is driven by fear, because the brain thinks, then I'm missing something serious. I'm missing something serious. So the brain often wants you to think that this is not caused by stress, in its attempt to keep you safe. But guess what? You wouldn't write this email if you were not worried, and I understand if somebody says, there's nothing I'm worried about in my life. Like, my job is going fine, my career's good, my family's good, everything's good. What would I be stressed about? Well, you're stressed about sleep, and that's enough. You're worried about not sleeping, and that's all the stress you need to keep having trouble sleeping. So Ravi, I just want to say, stay on this channel, explore it, send more questions, learn, and you will see that your thought pattern is so similar to others. You will see that if you just apply everything we talk about here, you'll do really, really well. Okay, hang in there, Ravi, you'll get there. Let's see, we have Brent. Oh, this was a while. Brent, nice having you back. What in the brain causes natural drowsiness? I can't get sleepy without meds. People talk about how it is like adenosine, like you have these ATP, the kind of the energy in our body, and like those phosphate groups are, burned off, and then we only have adenosine, and it accumulates in our body, and that makes us sleepy. But when you think in those terms, that takes you in the wrong direction. It takes you in the direction of like, okay, got it, it's adenosine, I got to get adenosine. Where can I get adenosine? I got to get more adenosine, which is not helpful at all, because when you're trying, the issue with insomnia is problem solving. The more you try to problem solve, the more of a problem you have. The problem is the act of problem solving. So it's only when you stop problem solving that you no longer have a problem. Okay, that is the thing. So a much better way to look at it is this: that the only thing that produces sleepiness is wakefulness. The longer you're awake, the more sleepiness you have. But guess what? If you are hyper aroused, if you're anxious, excited, stressed, preoccupied, bewildered, puzzled, you're not going to feel sleepy, because those emotions are dominating the sleepiness, so you don't even sense it. Okay, so it's not like sleepiness goes away or you don't have sleepiness. It's that it's masked by the hyperarousal. How do you get past hyperarousal? Education. When you understand your mind, you understand sleep, and you're like, okay, I got it, I understand what's happening, then there's less to think about, less to worry about, because you already understand it. The hyperarousal goes away, you start feeling the sleepiness, and sleep comes your way. I hope that helped, Brent. Ryder says, a great classic question. Dan can feel that one, thank you. And Michael says, sleep, don't try this at home. That's a good one. Thanks, Michael, and thanks Riley. Very cool. So let us move ahead. Ravi, thank you so much again. And we have, I think, one more question from a longtime listener, Alina. And by the way, this is Alina, the inventor of the untangling method. I will never forget. Alina shared with us how she had this idea that, when I think that I can't sleep because I drank too much coffee, then I drink more coffee. When I think I slept better on the left side of the bed, then I purposely sleep on the right side of the bed. And that's what Riley talked about when he was on the channel the other day, was how when you're in this like survival mode, your brain is like trying to figure it out. It's looking for connections. It's making connections that are not helpful. Like, oh, it's because of coffee that I can't sleep. Oh, I sleep better on the right side of the bed. How do you keep that from happening? Well, when the brain suggests something, you do the opposite. That's the untangling method, which has been helpful to particularly one client. Really, really helped her. Anyway, let's read this. Dear Daniel, hope you're doing well. I'm doing really well, thank you. I just wanted to share the process and would also appreciate any opinion on that. I'm still on a bumpy road, and I think my hyperarousal changed its nature a bit, and I feel a bit stuck. at the moment. It's interesting that I can't get along with getting up when I can't fall asleep in the first hour. If I pass that barrier of initiating sleep, my whole night is usually really good. Even if I wake up after 30 minutes of sleep, I feel relieved that I did fall asleep. So it's kind of easy to resume my sleep again. But once I find myself still awake and annoyed or anxious in bed, and I know this is the time I need to get up and cool down, I get frustrated. I usually get up, open my laptop, watch you and Coach Michael videos, and this makes me feel good again. Once I'm ready to go back to bed, usually takes me an hour or so, I usually fall asleep quickly. So now my perceived enemy is that moment when I realize I should get up. And if I stay in bed and ignore this feeling, I end up almost the whole night anxious and awake. Once I'm up, I feel okay with not sleeping, but have to make that getting up decision. It's what I really don't like, and I find it hard to be okay with it. It probably sounds confusing, and it really is to me, smiley, smiley. In the evening, I start getting thoughts like, if I would have to get up again at the beginning of the night, that would suck, which unsurprisingly often leads to the same situation. This is particularly tricky when I sleep at my in-laws, as I don't have that much freedom of movement there. I'll be thankful for any thoughts on this issue. Very good. So let me, when this feels fresh in my mind, immediately I want to go right to it. So, that's one there. Okay, so Alina describes this. So, if she falls asleep in the early part of the night and then wakes up, no problem. She, there's no pressure. She's already slept some. She, and then falls back asleep. Very common. But if she doesn't fall asleep initially and she's awake after a while and she knows I should get up, but if she decides to stay in bed, that becomes a long, drawn-out, sleepless night. Okay, so one could definitely go in the direction of, okay, well then just make yourself go up, get up. But that can definitely lead to kind of self-judgment and being hard on yourself, because you're like, I should get up, but I don't want to get up. Oh, I'm so bad. What am I doing to myself? Oh, what's wrong with me? Da, 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 da. So I think one thing that immediately comes to mind is self-kindness. Classic one is like, think of what you would tell a friend that this happened to. Would you tell her, like, what's wrong with you? Why can't you just get up? Like, get a grip on things. Of course you wouldn't. You'd be like, that's all right. Things are going to be fine. You'd give her a hug. Be that person to yourself, Alina. If you are hard on yourself, that's what gets you stuck. Frustration, feeling I'm the problem. Why can't I get it right? I'm being mad at yourself. That's what gets you stuck. And the way out of that, getting unstuck, the biggest part of getting unstuck, in my humble opinion, give yourself a hug. Be kind to yourself, be nice to yourself, be compassionate, self-compassion, super, super important. And now getting more practical, what should you be doing? I think that's the way. I think, instead of going like, if I stay in bed the whole night and I don't sleep, well, that's not good. Try to go in the direction of like, okay, that's happened before. I've been in bed all night, being frustrated, annoyed, and not sleeping, and that's all right. If that happens again, that's okay. Whenever you're trying to resist X, X gets more power over you. When you're trying not to stay all night being annoyed, if that is your goal, I don't want to have that, then that X becomes so powerful, right? So I think it's great to go in the unattached way here, being like, if I get up and do something enjoyable and fall back asleep again, great. If I end up staying all night and getting frustrated and angry at myself, that's okay too. I'm not going to bang myself up over that. I'm going to be okay with that. I think that is super important. And then also the surfer's window, which I want to call it, is like, a lot of people feel like they have this window. If I don't fall asleep within this window in the early night, then I'm going to have a terrible night. I think the important thing there is to just recognize that it comes from pressure. If you don't fall asleep, you feel a pressure to sleep more later on. You've kind of missed your opportunity. There's nothing magical about the window. It's only the way you think about it that matters. So I think those were kind of the big ones. Let me know how this sounded, Alina, and if you have any follow-up question to this one. And I know you're going to do really, really well. You're just in kind of this wave again, and then it's going to be less waves as you incorporate this. Here's Melina saying, when I feel anxious, I prepare for an all-nighter mentally, and I fall asleep. That's exactly like, when I feel anxious, I'm like, okay, I'm going to be up all night. And that just, when you're willing to experience something, the fear of that goes away. So when you're willing to experience the night, Alina, when you're struggling all night, if you're willing to experience that and you're not going to be hard on yourself for it, you'll be on your way. We have some discussion here in the comment section, which is so much fun. I love this. Here it is. Mihai said, you can be super sleepy and not be able to sleep, super tired, but still skip a night. Happens all the time, 100%. And that is because hyperarousal. And, you know, the break, hyperarousal, anxiety, that is the thing. It is not like sleep is not about making yourself super sleepy and exhausted. That doesn't work because the break is always the stronger part. Genesis, is it normal to wake up and then go back to sleep several times a night? It could be, and sometimes it's not. Meaning, when it is for an external reason, like you have a neighbor that's making all kind of ruckus, and you wake up many times. Well, is that normal? Yeah, I guess that's normal. But when you have something like sleep apnea, you know, you fall asleep and you wake up because you're snoring again. That's not normal. That's a disease. But do many people wake up many times and go back to sleep? 100%. In fact, here's the thing. This is where I should have started. I got a little sidetracked by my own thoughts. You know? But the thing is, it is completely normal to wake up many, many times. So we talk about this all the time. Like most people wake up 5, 6, 7 times per hour. Many times per hour we wake up. And you know that when you do an EEG on somebody, like, you know, study their brain activity. But here's the thing. Most people wake up, don't think about it, fall back asleep, and they don't even know that they're awake. So most people will think that they didn't wake up or wake up 2 times. They wake up many times, but they just don't know about it. The difference is when you have become a little bit worried about your sleep, you wake up and then you realize you're awake. Oh my gosh, I was awake. And then you remember all the times you're awake. That is very common when you have a tendency towards insomnia or you have insomnia. So there's no short answer here, Jan, but I hope this was helpful to you. Arjun is here, says, hey, Arjun. Nice having you back here. Michael says, very common. Key is the reaction, just like I said, exactly. Arjun says, I suffered from insomnia almost 3 months, and I did a lot of things, but they didn't help me. And when I read a book called The Sleep Book, after that I started doing meditation and ACT, and my insomnia is gone. 10% Happier book helped me doing meditation. I think this is a very good book. I have it somewhere. The Sleep Book by Guy Meadow, and his approach is very much like acceptance, that you learn to, you know, when you have kind of stressful thoughts, you don't engage with them. You kind of observe them from the outside and you let them go. And I think ACT is very, very good. I think for what sometimes makes it tricky for people to go in that direction is that there isn't so much education on like why you have trouble sleeping. So sometimes it's hard for people to go like, I have a lot of trouble sleeping, to like, now I'm going to go directly to acceptance. That's why our approach here is kind of like we borrow the education from CBT and we take, you know, the acceptance part from like ACT and mix it with our own things. And then we get NADO, non-attachment to the outcome, which is like our philosophy here. But yeah, Arjun, super happy that you're doing well. And with that said, I will complete this broadcast. Anybody who likes what you hear and would like a little bit more hand holding, somebody to like hold you by the hand and guide you towards a place where you are immune to insomnia. You not only sleep well, but you sleep well for the rest of your life. You never struggle again, because that's always the goal. Check out our brand new self-coaching master program, From Insomnia to Immunity. Check it out. There's a free class on the sleepcoachschool.com. And if you prefer text-based learning and just have 5 minutes per day, check out Bedtime, the app. I think it is a great one as well. So that said, again, I'm so grateful for everyone tuning in. Thanks so much, everyone. And I look forward to having everyone back very soon. Until then.